Hello Plannerettes, thank you so much for joining me in today's video where I'm going to set up my December calendar as well as the new week in my Hobonichi Weeks. So if you're ready, grab your planner, grab your cup of coffee or tea and let's plan together. Let's go. Okay, so I have on my desk my A5 Filofax Camden organizer in the color olive, which is where I house my Hobonichi cousin as well as my A5 ring planner inserts. I have my Hobonichi original that's got my A6 planner in there, and I have my Hobonichi Weeks in this Traveler's Notebook regular size cover. These are the three planners I'm going to be moving into 2026 with. Who knows, it might change along the way, but that's the beauty of personal planning. We go along with whatever works for us in that moment. So the reason why I do have these two here, even though I'm going to be setting up the Hobonichi Weeks, is I want to show you the December calendar that I had set up in both, because that's how I'm going to also do the calendar in this Hobonichi week. So as you can see, I used my Kurotake Zig Clean color dot marker to create the hand lettering font. I also have this green native flora washi tape. I think this was part of a pack of 10 Kmart washi tape set. I don't know if it's still available, but if you want to continue or do the sort of like red and green theme for Christmas, but don't want to be it overly saturated red or green, then you can go with more pinks and light greens like I have done here. So for my Hobonichi original, I'm going to use the calendar mainly for content creation, schedule, and anything else and tasks that I might have for that month. So the Hobonichi original is for content creation, calendar, task, events, and course live stream shows that I'll be doing. So that's the A6 original. And then for the Hobonichi cousin, let me just make some space here. I have the December calendar right here, and again, as you can see, it's continued that same hand lettering font, which is what I will show you today how I created it. So December, and then that green washi tape. So then of course, when it comes to the Hobonichi Weeks, it's going to have the same layout. Okay, so the calendar, we have February, January, and December. So I'm going to create exactly the same. So then when I do flip back through it, the calendar have exactly the same theme, and then it's a little bit more cohesive. Okay, so let us go. Let me put the others away first. So I have a nice clean space on my desk. Now, if you do have any questions at all, please let me know in the comment section. I do love reading your comments. All right, so here we are. Like I said, I did make a video of putting together the Traveler's Notebook cover with the Hobonichi, so make sure to check that out. The audio is a little bit different because I didn't get to attach my wireless microphone on time, so it was using my iMax microphone, but that's okay. You could still hear me, just a little bit different. Okay, so here I just made this little, I guess, pencil board. It's really just a cardboard. It's more like a little page marker. I had this cardstock, so I cut it to size of the Hobonichi Weeks dimension, probably a slightly narrower and slightly shorter. So then when the planner does close, it doesn't protrude out and you don't see it on the side there. And then at the top, I just added an extra length and then cut out that piece to create that little tab. And then I just put a label this week, both back and front, and at the back, because this cardstock had a plain white background, I just added some stickers and washi tapes just to embellish it so it's not looking plain. So if and when I do have it as a bookmark in my planner, then it's not just a plain white background. So grab whatever cardstock you have on hand, or even if it's not thick enough, you can maybe glue together 2 pieces of cardstock to keep it sturdy, and then you have your own little page marker or pencil board. Okay, let me just zoom in a little bit. Now, the Hobonichi Weeks I use as my mood log, and that is all I'm going to be using it for. As someone whose emotions do go up and down, as well as my anxious thoughts and my feelings of negativity and self-doubt, what I've found great in the morning is to acknowledge how I'm feeling. So that is how I'm going to use it for. So one of the first thing I do during my morning routine is write down how I'm feeling and why. So then I'm acknowledging maybe, if I'm sad, happy, excited, nervous, anxious thought, feeling low, what could be the reason? So the feelings, I am making sure I don't judge it as neither good nor bad. It's just a reaction or a message to whatever happened in the day or the night before, or something or someone might have said, or something that worked out or didn't work out. Just a great way to note it down and then go be in a great position to respond to the day. So if you're feeling low, then of course you're going to give yourself a little bit more kindness and grace and not put too much on your plate like we normally do, trying to juggle too many things. So I write down how I feel and why. And then on this section here, I write down what is it that I can do to make the day better? Or if I had a great morning, great start to the day, what else I can do to continue that feeling. And then here on the right hand side, I just create a nice little mood log graph. So visually I can see how well my mood was for that week. So I started this Hobonichi Weeks. I grabbed some old blank pages from an old Hobonichi Weeks, I think 2024. I just then glued the page together to the back of the February calendar. I think this spread would have been the March 2027. So I just glued that in place from November 17th to the 23rd, as well as November 24th to the 30th. So then that way I'm already 2 weeks into my Hobonichi Weeks, because this planner starts on Monday, the 1st of December. So then I got to already go and use it. So let's first start off with the December calendar. So I'm going to show you exactly how I do this. So hopefully it works out well, because normally when you do things live, things may not be lined up properly. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to first grab my mechanical pencil, because I want to make sure I evenly space my letters from the start to the finish. So then that way I'm not finding myself having BER squished right at the end. So just very lightly. Now I want to make sure I don't take up the whole height of the top here. As you can see, that's the top of the grid paper, and there's the bottom. I want to make sure that I do my outline of the letters probably one grid below that, because I'm actually going to outline it and I don't want to go beyond that. So let me just go D here. Okay, very lightly. I'll probably leave 2 grid spaces. You'll see in a second when we start using our colors why I'm leaving 2 spaces. So 1, 2 grid. Okay, see straight away I had put M instead of C. That is why pencil is your friend. Decem, 1, 2 spaces, 1, 2 spaces. Okay, and then just use however you write your capital letters, or your 1, 2, December, or how you write your uppercase. Now, of course, now as you can see, there's a lot of space here. The way I make sure that I actually have my month heading right in the middle is I count, if you're using a grid paper, I count how many grids at the front and how many grid at the end, and then I divide it in half, and that's where I would start my first letter. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So let's say 10. And then I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I might start the D here. Okay, so now I can just erase. Let me see if I've got any much better little eraser. So I've got this Lendy slim eraser. I'll make sure to put everything in the description. So this is why you want to make sure you lightly outline. So then if you do make any mistake or error, and when you erase it, it's not going to stand out too much. But again, it's okay because once the colored marker goes over the top, you would hardly see it. So then because I said the start of the first letter there, I might as well start it here. So then it's lined up to the bottom of that calendar grid. Okay, so let's do that again. D, I may have to make my letters a little bit more squished so then I can fit it, because I still want to be able to give that 2 spaces in between each letter, so then we can create some bubble letter effect. Sam 1 2 doesn't have to be precise, but you want to make sure, because when we do the dot coloring, you want to make sure the letters are not too narrow, so then you can space out the dotted line. Okay, so these are a little bit wider, the letters, than that one, but that's okay. We're gonna go along with it, and then we might make it a little bit wider as we go. So I am using my pink Kuretake Zig Clean color dot marker. So one side is a rounded spongy circular end, and then the other is a fine tip end, and we're going to use both of them. So with the outline of the letter, you're just going to lightly dot the little circles, and let me show you, based on how much pressure you put on the page, that is the size of the dots that you will create. So if it's a light dot, it's a small circle. Medium pressure and then heavier pressure creates bigger dots. Just to be mindful, because these markers are quite pigmented and quite inky, if your paper you are using is thinner, you may get bleeding or ghosting on the other side. So just to be mindful, maybe test it out before you use it if you are one who does not like ghosting or bleed throughs. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to evenly space dots on that lettered outline that we created earlier. Okay, so at the moment it might not be as defined, but when we use the fine tip end to actually outline the perimeter of these dots, you will see the effect come together in like a nice little bubble lettering. So December, making sure that before I put the marker down that it is spelled correctly. Whoop. Okay, as you can see, that's okay because there is a little bit of space there. Then I can move this B a little bit to the right. So of course, when the letter that you're creating, there's more lines on it, then maybe smaller dots to begin with. December. Smaller dots will won't make them squished over. So that worked out well. My letters fitted nicely. December. So at the moment, it's a bit meh, okay? But this is where the fine liner end goes into. I'm going to use my post-it note to just keep that behind it so it's not so flopping about. So what you want to do now is you want to outline outside the dot. So don't have it too close to the dotted. So then just very lightly just outline around each dotted letter. Now just make sure when it comes to the edge, don't make it too close to the other one because we need to leave some space. And see how I said earlier, you don't want to do your outline right at the top of, the space you're writing in, because you want that space to allow that outlined perimeter. And so you don't want, so just depending on how tall you want each letter, just make sure create the dots below that and above where you want your letters to sit. So maybe you can do a practice run first on a blank piece of paper or a scrap piece of paper if you don't want to go straight onto your planner page. Oh, that's looking good. That is looking good. And then again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Look at that one. It's a little bit, wonky, but that's okay because this is handwritten. It is not printed. It's not typed. This is our own beautiful hand lettering font. Hey, you know, people will probably pay money to get your hand lettering font. So sometimes we are our own worst critic. Now I'm going to let that dry before I erase all the pencil marking, because the last thing you want is start to erase the pencil marking before the ink dries, and then you're going to smudge it. Has someone done that before? Yes, I have. Okay, so now let's zoom out again. So we're just keeping it very simple. You know, this time of the year, it's already such a busy season for those of you who are in the US. I think it is your Thanksgiving weekend. And so it's important that we do not put too much pressure on ourselves. And we also make sure we find the time to have moments for ourselves. I'm just lining up the bottom of the washi at the bottom of the grid section of the Hobonichi. I can feel a little crease on that. So just lightly pull that off. Use our Hobonichi stencil, basic stencil, to cut the edge. So one side of it is jagged, so you can create a nice jagged edge if you didn't want a clean line. And then have the bottom there. Okay, whoop, there's a crease. There we go. That's the beauty of some washi tapes, is that you can peel it off your pages without it ruining your paper. Okay, let me just see if I can go and start to erase this right now. Now, because the Hobonichi has the very thin Tomo River paper, just be careful, as you saw there, when you are coming to the edge of your page and you are erasing, that you don't go at it too hard, because it might rip your paper. So just be very gentle. Okay, so there's December. Now, if you wanted, you can grab a light gray marker. So this one is the Tombow N95 light gray. And so I'm just going to use the brush tip end, but just the point of it. And then just create, because this is really light, you just want to double it up. So just create a little bit of a shadow. I don't want it to be too prominent, but just a slight hint that the letters are lifting off the page. But if you do want it to be obvious, then of course, just grab yourself darker gray. Now, because I'm actually touching the pink Kuretake marker, it is actually sort of like blending in. So it creates that nice little, it's not very obvious, just a subtle shadow or shade. That is my December page. I don't know yet if I'll do anything different to the days of the week heading. We'll leave it at that for the moment. So next, I want to go and do the weekly spread for the new week of December 1st to December 7th. So again, I use my Hobonichi Weeks for my mood logging. So the columns, it starts off here, and then I create, I think this is a 2 centimeter, or in inches, it is about 3/4 of an inch width. So I don't think there is a dotted line here, or a dotted section. Let me see if I can point to it. Right there, can you see? Is it going to zoom in? See how there's a dot and a dot right throughout, and so you can follow that line. But if I do follow that line, this column is going to be too wide for the stickers that I'm using. So I'm using Kina Prints stickers. Okay, so this is my Filofax Pocket Malden Organizer in the pink, and this is where I house my printed Kina print stickers. So I purchased these, her character's name is Lola. So I purchased all these digital stickers from the Kina Prints website, and then I used my printer as well as my silhouette cutting machine, printed it on sticker paper, and then got my silhouette cutting machine to kiss cut. So kiss cut means it cuts the top portion but not the backing. So then that way they all stay intact until you need to peel them off. So I made the width of my Kina Prints Lola stickers around about 1/2 inch wide. So then the two centimeter or 20 millimeter or 3/4 of an inch width for the stickers is ample enough for what I need. And then here I think I divided the width of this section in half, and I think this is 4 centimeters, 40 millimeters, or in inches about 1.5 inch. Okay, so now this here, so it is now just ticked over to Saturday 12:15. So when I do have my sleep and wake up in the morning, I'll log my mood, see what stickers fits the current mood or feeling of the morning, write down how I feel and why, and what is it that I can do to make myself feel better, and then also log down my mood from the night before, note down that I've taken my blood pressure medicine, and also see if I can measure my blood pressure to see if it's stabilizing. Okay, so that's where we are now. We are now ready to set the week for December 1st to December 7th in the actual planner page that came with this, and no more hacking, no more hacking my Hobonichi for the new month and week. What is that? Doesn't matter. Okay, so I think probably must have had some ink on them. Okay, so I do want to start doing some December or Christmas theme. So then I did purchase this pack of 10 from Kmart here in Australia. So there's the other 3. And so I don't normally, decorate my planner pages Christmassy theme until it's the week before. But you know what? Let's enjoy the festive season starting the new month. And it's always nice when a new month and a new week starts on a Monday. Okay, so I picked out these ones here. So they'll coordinate nicely because I want to stagger them, because the width at the bottom is wide enough to allow 2 sets of washi tapes that I can then stagger them together. So I'm going to cover the little quote that's on there. I should really take note of what it is. When you have a reader, you can write. So why not make the reader your future self? It doesn't matter if it's in your year or in a month. It might surprise you to see how much next year's you will enjoy reading what you wrote about today. No doubt that you will then pick up the rest of the story. Oh, that's nice. That's a nice sentiment. Copywriter, CEO of the Hobonichi. Okay, so I don't use the calendar, so I don't need to have that on there. So I'm just going to line up first the very bottom half of that with this red dotted washi, and then I'm going to lay over the top this cute green, pink, and red bow washi. And so I want to just cover the bit of that calendar, and see how now, especially if you're like me, you have quite a few washi tapes on hand, and you keep buying more. This is a great way for you to use up your washi by layering them together. Now, I normally like to frame the page with both washis top and bottom, but because the width at the top is narrower than the width of my washi, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the width that I need, just tear it with my nail and finger, and then cut and tear it in the middle. So then that will create a nice jagged line and will create a nice effect on your page. Let me just pop that there, and then pop that so the straight edge are aligned with the edge of the page. There we go. Whoops, I think I did it too wide. Whoops. Let me just cut that excess washi so then that way it doesn't lift up and get all sticky. And then this bit here, I don't want to cover the December. I want to keep the December. So I'm just going to go and start the washi from this section, and then use my stencil, and there we go. So then that gives a nice little framing to your Hobonichi Week spread. All right, so next I want to use red and green. So I'm going to use my Pentel Energel colored gel pens. Let me see which green it is that I want that will match up the green of the bow down there. So this is probably, yep, the red I want. That is a little bit lighter than I would like. I think this is a better fit. So this green. So Pentel Energel BLN05 in the 05 nib. So I'm using both red and green, and then I'm going to use that as my border. So grab my ruler. Let me just clean up as I go. So then that way the brain sees that everything is in order. Put things away. So even though sometimes I need to use the same thing again, I like to put things away first. So then it's just a nice clean start to the next part of, planning. Okay, so how I'm going to do this. Let me put this aside first. I want the green to be more prominent because the washi is all red. So I might make the green as the border and then just outline the border that's already there from the Hobonichi. Now just do be mindful, if your nib of your pen is a pointy one just like this, that you don't press too hard on the paper because you might tear it. And I said here I wanted to have it 2 centimeters or 20 millimeter or 3/4 of an inch, whatever metric system, whatever system you use with your measurement. Now with this one, instead of a solid line, I'm going to do dash lines. Okay, so line up where the dots are and just dash lines. Takes a little bit longer, but it gives you a nice effect on the page. Now, if you do have anything on the other side of the paper that it's leaning on, maybe washi stickers or magnetic clips, just be mindful that when you're creating or drawing your lines, it might make your line veer. So here I said I wanted to have this at 4 centimeters. Did I want it at 4 centimeters? Yes. So 4 is the closest one, is this line there. And again, I want this one to be dash line. So there's no rhyme or reason why some lines I do dash, some lines I do solid. I think it just what pleases your eye. Okay, and then did I do a border? Yes, I did a border. So now I'll create a border all around just to anchor the whole spread. So I won't go over the sticky note tab. I'll do it this way because it's easier for me to draw. So I can feel some stuff here behind it. So I'm going to be mindful to just slow my pen down, because then when the paper moves, it might not go against the ruler. And also here, I want to create a border around the days of the week. Okay, now if you do have a ruler that is not angled, I don't know if you can see, probably better this way. See how this side is angled? So if you have a pen that is quite inky, and then of course when you're rolling your lines, that can transfer ink on the side. So if you get a ruler that has an angled edge like this, make sure the angled edge is the one closest to the paper. So then what happens is, even if you do get ink on the ruler, because it's angled, it's not touching the paper. So when you remove your ruler, it's not going to create that, you know how sometimes there's ink and you move the ruler and then it's got all these ink that gets smudged. So now this is going to be harder because I have so much stuff underneath this one, but we're going to see if we can do this. Try and press. Or if you don't have a ruler that's like that, I just realized I didn't place the angled edge against the paper. Just wipe it down after each use, so then you're not transferring ink to the next section when you're lining up. Let's do it this way. Okay, let's have a look. So just outlining all the perimeter of the spread, and then I'm going to use the red to divide up the days of the week. One more edge. Careful not to have my fingernail in the way. Look, well, sometimes when you're creating your embellishment from scratch, oops, I felt my fingernail. Any mistake might, see here, it might stand out, but once you start writing, you won't notice that anymore. It's just the beginning. And so if you wanted, so this is Whipper, I'll make sure I'll pop this in there. So it is a cream, see, it's a cream correction tape. And if you wanted I shouldn't really bother with it, but if you wanted to clean up that a little bit better. So you have the cream, it goes nicely. It's not some correction tape, of course, a bright white, and then if you use that, it might be too stark against the cream paper. So a little trivia, if you look at the Tomoe River paper of the Cousin, Original, and the Weeks is more creamy rather than white. Now the reason for that is I think originally when you use the Hobonichi Weeks, because it's small and compact, this is the one that you take along with you, you know, when you're out and about. And so during daylight with the sun shining, if it's the, you know, a bright white, it'll be too glary. So I think the reason, I think I read this somewhere when I first started looking into Hobonichi planners, is the reason why it's cream is because then that way, if you do take it out and about with you, out in daylight, it's not going to be so bright. Now, next, I'm going to divide the days of the week. I'm using the red gel ink Pentel, and then I'm just going to go and create the lines. Now, I'm just going to move my Pilot pen out of the way. Now, if you do have other things in your planner that, you know, might get in the way, then you can, you know, probably good idea if I remove it out of my traveler's notebook cover. So then that way it sits flatter, save you from trying to navigate all those bumpy lines underneath. Okay, so again, where are we? Where did we go? So I'm going to use my ruler, make sure that it is the angled edge that's next to the paper. I'm going to start on this edge, so then that way if I started here and then I do the lines, if the ink is not yet dry, then I'm going to smudge it, and that's the last thing I want. So then I'm just going to do the line from here to there, so then that way it divides up the page nicely for the different days of the week. Again, I'm going to use dashed line, just, you know, create that nice little, I guess even, you know, sort of like a candy cane effect. Now, because the edge that I have against the paper of the ruler is the angled edge, you must make sure that the pen is nicely straight up and down rather than an angle, or else, you know, if you have the edge lined up to where you have it, you want it, if you have it at an angle, then you're essentially creating lines past or beyond that line that you want it on, if that makes sense. So this nice red and green, start the festive season. Look, I might use the straight edge because I would normally, when I do my lines, my head is right over my page, but because I've got the camera on top, I don't really want you to see the top of my head. So I'm going to use the edge that sits flat right on the ruler, and I'll just make sure I lift it instead of slide the ruler away from the ink marking I just made. Okay, let's keep going. We got 2 more lines and last one. Okay, there's all our lines drawn, looking pretty. Oh, that looks so nice. I'm quite happy with that. Again, as well, if you know you don't want to do the red and green theme, whatever your favorite color washi, and then color coordinate, you know, the pens and markers that you're going to use next to it. And speaking of color coordinating, I have picked out, so this is King Art brush tip marker, so it's just one-sided, so it's got a nice big brush tip, but I'm going to use only sorry, I got itchy nose, to highlight the days of the week, so then it just gives a pop of color. And I'm just going to alternate, so I might start here with the green, so then that way it's not red on red. So just very lightly, just probably the side of the brush, just create a line. That's all, and every second one. Okay, there we go. And because this green is much darker and then it covers the days of the week and the date, I'll go over with a gel pen once it is dry. So there we go. So while that's drying, let's create my little mood log graph. Now, do I want to use the Tombow Fudenosuke brush tip, or do I want to use a red and green one? I don't know if this, I don't really, oh, maybe I'll do a swatch test here. Bear with me, I'll go get a different planner because I don't want to do swatches Okay, here's one of my old 2024 because I think these are highly pigmented. So let me just go to a page that I already have. So so this one is the Pilot brush tip, and then the little tip the brush is very tiny. Okay, so let's have a look. So it's very inky, and we'll see if the Tomo River paper can withstand it and not bleed to the other side or not too much ghosting. Will I be okay with that? Let's try the red. So again, I'll make sure to pop this in the description if you wanted to check it out. And let's try the Tombow. We'll see which one is less ghosting. They're all pretty much the same, aren't they? I think I'm going to use the red and green. Let's do it. Let's live wild. I think I'll use the green because then again, there's enough red here. And let's just use my previous page as a guide. So I did 3 squares in and 1 grid down. So 1 grid down, 1, 2, 3 squares in, mood. So this is my mood log. So I do sort of like a 5 color code system. That doesn't mean that I was happy all day or that I was sad all day. It's just whatever the overarching mood of the day was. So I'm going to use the fine tip end of my Koretake Zig Clean Color Dot marker for my little color coding. So I've got space and then 1, 2. Yep, so just going to use the fine tip and just do a scratch of the color. So green is for a great day. I'll leave a space. Orange is a good day. Yellow is for a meh kind of day. Blue is when I'm feeling tense or anxious. And then the pink is when I'm sad or angry. Okay, now for the pen, I'm going to use the Uniball 0.38. And so this is where I'm going to create the grid line. So I just will make a little note there and then I'll have it stop there. Grab my ruler, go there, and then here for the days of the week. So this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then just create a line for the bottom and then just very, very tinily Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's why you want the really small fine nib pen so you can write nice and small. Okay, so the next one, do I want it all green or do I want it to be red as well? Let's do red. Okay, so I left 2 spaces, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3. Oopsie, I used the wrong marker. That's too thick. All right, let's see if we can go and rescue it. Look at that, you can't even see it because it matches perfectly. So cream car correction tape. Toot, 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 toot. Let's go with this one. Okay, let's see if this is gonna work. Hopefully it won't. It's good because you know how sometimes you write over correction tape and then the hue is lighter, but that's good. Just do make sure don't close your page while it is still wet. And so it may dry a lot longer than when it is straight onto the page. Okay, so meds and then 1 space. Look, for this one, I might use a light pink instead of red. So leave a space here. I'm going to mark it here. So I'm going to mark, so this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So then I just make an X when I've taken my medicine and then just create a cute little pill. The pill I'm taking is not that, it's a tiny little blood pressure medicine. And then maybe we'll make that, let's make that yellow. Let's make that yellow. Okay, yellow meds. And then I want to also do my blood pressure. So leave a 1, 2, 1, 2 space. Oh, I've got the wrong marker again. That was lucky. Good catch. And blood pressure. And then this one I'll continue with the same pink. Right here. And we got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then I'll just do a doot, doot, doot. Okay, and then I'll leave that. Normally I would have the bottom section for like a little summary, this week's summary. Okay, so since I'm only been in this Hobonichi Weeks for 2 weeks, I haven't finished the summary yet. Okay, so how did my mood go Friday. I was so tired, so I'm gonna put meh. It was kind of meh kind of day. I've just been so tired recently. I'll go see my doctor, make sure everything is okay, that my blood pressure medicine is not affecting it. I think it's just comes with age, you know, perimenopause, all that stuff. So let's see. That's looking good. I don't like that. I don't like it. It looks weird. It looks weird. We might just leave that for the moment. Okay. Oh, yes, that's it. I was going to go and write over it. Where is my... So I'm just grabbing a waterproof, fade-proof gel pen, and a fine one, because I'm going to write tiny, I don't want it to be too thick. So we want this to be one. I'm just going over exactly the thing that's on there, maybe making it bolder. 3, 4, 5. Can you believe it? End of the year soon. 7. And then here I'm just going to do Monday. So I'm just making the day, the first 3 letters go down the page. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Let's pack up as we go. Have a nice clean space. Now, it's important through my own, you know, learning of managing well-being, managing self-care, managing your mindset. They talk about how the brain, our lovely brain, likes to look for order, because it signals to the brain when everything is in its right place that there's no threat. We don't have to fight, we don't have to flee, or we don't have to freeze. And so when you have your immediate space or messy, the brain actually reads that as threat. And then the amygdala, the fight, flight, or freeze part of our brain kicks in. It shuts down the, you know, decision making, because, you know, it's putting all of its effort into survival mode. So you might think that, oh yeah, you know, my desk is okay. It's not dirty. It's just a little bit messy. But if you're finding yourself, you know, stressing out, or your emotions is not as regulated, one of the first things to look at is, you know, is your immediate environment in order? If it ain't, just take 5 minutes, put a 5-minute timer on, put that, tidy up whatever you can. Once the 5 minutes is up, that gives your brain a sense of order. Okay, so here we go. What do we have? I've got the... Let me just zoom out a little bit so we can see the full picture. I've got the Traveler's Notebook in the regular size. I'm using that as my cover for my Hobonichi Weeks 2026 dotted planner. Then you've got the first page there. Added some floral stickers to my dashboard. And then we have, I'm going to use the future log as a mood tracker. I've added this extra piece of paper so then I can start it in December. So start my mood logging using my 5 color code. So green, orange, yellow, blue, and pink. So then hopefully I'll start to see patterns when I color in each and every day. At the end of the day, depending on what the overarching mood is, I might start seeing patterns, and then that can help me plan a lot better my day. So if I'm feeling a little bit low, then I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself. There is my December calendar in theme with the Hobonichi original December calendar, as well as the cousin. It's on the floor at the moment. Okay, so they're all the same theme. And that's what I'm do for the other months of the year, is whatever I use for one, I'll continue it on. So then that way it's cohesive. And then because 1st of December starts next week, I am using a nice Christmas theme, red and green. So that will help create a little bit of festivity on my mood log. So here I'm going to add Kina Prints stickers, just like here, based on whatever I'm feeling in the morning. This column, I'm going to write down how I feel and why I feel that way. So it's just listening to the message. What does my emotion and my mood and feelings communicating to me? And then in this section, a nice little response rather than a reaction, so I can plan better that if I'm having a great day, what else can I do to continue that feeling? Or if I'm having a low, sad, frustrated, angry type of day, what is it that I can do to make myself feel better? And then we have here, I'm going to create mood log. So just a nice visual tracker because I'm a visual planner, and then meds when I'm taking my blood pressure, and do a blood pressure. Once that's dried, I might do my little heart beep thing a little bit better. So that is my Hobonichi Weeks, and at the back just these additional Hobonichi pages, and there's my little do-it-yourself page marker, and at the back I also have the traveler's notebook in regular craft envelope and sticker release. So I'll start putting some stickers on here that are loose leaf or that will go well for my calendar. So for the calendar here in my Hobonichi Weeks, I've shown it before in my other pages, but I'm going to make a little note of how the day went using the Kina print stickers and a couple of chosen words to make that day, whatever happened in the day or that stood out, stand out on my December calendar. So I'm going to use the bookmark of the Traveler's Notebook to pop down in the December. Yes, in the December, because I'm using this square lime design heart sticker tab as the page marker for my mood tracker, so the future log. So I'll use this one for the calendar, and then I'll use this one for the week, and then there's got the page keeper. Keep that all closed, and then there we go. So if you like this video, don't forget to like and share, and of course make sure to subscribe to my channel, and also check the links in the description below. Thank you so much, everybody. I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.